Well, there are still many questions following the indictment of former President Donald Trump. Of course, a former president has never faced criminal charges before.
Yeah, it is an unprecedented occurrence. We have Scott McLean, a professor at Quinnipiac University, talking with us once again. Thanks so much for being with us.
Great to be here.
All right, so what's next in this indictment process for former President Trump?
The word is that on Tuesday he's expected to appear in court. So that means somehow former President Trump will find his way to Manhattan, where he will turn himself in and surrender himself. He'll have his Secret Service detail. There will be all of that will be worked out with the police. He'll be booked, fingerprinted, mugshot. And then he'll appear before the judge, and the charges against him will be read out loud to him. There are quite a few of them, and we don't know what the charges actually are for sure, but we do think that it has something to do with the hush money paid to porn star Stormy Daniels for keeping her allegations secret about their affair, alleged affair.
Yeah, and that's really the thing here that we just have to keep in mind here. I think most of the questions people have naturally at this point, we can't answer because we just don't know what's in the indictment. So that's why we're looking into sort of the steps in the process here in that arraignment. Do you suspect there's going to be video of him in handcuffs at any point, or possibly walked in, not necessarily a perp walk? He might want to be seen walking in. Do we have any idea how that's going to play out, him entering the facility?
I actually think that, yes, Donald Trump would love to have pictures of him in handcuffs walking in to the courtroom. But honestly, I do not believe that that's what we will see. I think we will just see Donald Trump appearing in court, dressed in a business suit and standing and listening to the charges being read to him. That other stuff, I really don't think that the court would allow that kind of a media circus. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean it won't happen, but it would be a circus, and I think the court would not allow that kind of thing.
Now, you just say one of the next steps is former President Trump is going to be in a Manhattan courtroom. Now, what would happen? What if he decides not to go? Is that a possibility? What would happen then?
Well, that's sort of asking, we're totally in uncharted waters here, but the normal thing that would happen is that he would be extradited, or there would be Manhattan police officers sent to Mar-a-Lago to bring him. It would involve a negotiation with the Secret Service because he would have Secret Service protection. You can't. I don't think you can just grab a former president and put him in a car and drive him away. It would require the cooperation of the state of Florida. The governor of Florida said that he wouldn't cooperate with extradition. That would be blatantly unconstitutional. It says clearly in the Constitution that the states have to cooperate in these kinds of things. So that may create more delays. It might have to go to another court to strike down what Governor DeSantis is doing when he says he won't cooperate. It might just mean a long review of the case, and it just slows things down.
Certainly would create that circus atmosphere that we were just talking about.
And an atmosphere which I'm imagining all parties are going to try to exploit for their advantage, both President Trump and his re-election campaign and any political adversaries, Republican and Democratic. How do you see that sort of playing out?
Well, picking up with Ron DeSantis once again, I think Ron DeSantis would love to be seen as the protector of Donald Trump, even as he is trying to persuade voters not to vote for Donald Trump and to vote for him instead as he runs for president. One little known under the radar thing is that DeSantis has begun to clear the way for getting the legislature to allow him to run for president while still staying in his office as governor. So he inches ever closer to an actual official run for the presidency. And I don't think Donald Trump wants to be beholden to Ron DeSantis. This is not someone he wants to stop insulting and calling names. So I'm really doubtful that Trump will avoid this. He doesn't want to be seen as being afraid. He wants to stand up bravely and dare the Manhattan court to convict him. That's in his political interest.
Right. Okay, well, Mr. McLean, thank you so much. Like we said, a lot of questions we can't answer. We can only speculate on at this point. So I'm sure we might have you on the show a lot more once we find out a lot more about the charges.
Okay.